The Christmas Market Encounter. Lila stepped out of her car, the cold air biting at her cheeks as she adjusted her scarf against the brisk winter wind. The vibrant colors of the Christmas market enveloped her senses, twinkling lights strung across stalls, the aroma of roasted chestnuts wafting through the air, and laughter echoing from families gathered around festive displays. It was a stark contrast to her usual life filled with glamour and press events. Today was meant to be a break from her hectic schedule. With an important film premiere looming just around the corner, Lila yearned for a moment of normalcy amidst the chaos of Hollywood. She had always loved Christmas markets. Their charm reminded her of simpler times before fame took over her life. As she wandered through the stalls, she noticed a small figure darting between shoppers. A young girl, no older than 10, wearing a slightly tattered Santa outfit and holding a basket filled with homemade cakes and candies caught her attention. The girl's dark hair peeked out from under a red hat that was far too big for her head. Cakes. Freshly baked, the girl called out cheerfully, though there was an underlying tremor in her voice that tugged at Lila's heartstrings. Intrigued, Lila approached the girl's stall. "What kind of cakes do you have?" she asked gently. "Carrot cake. Very fresh." The girl's eyes sparkled with hope as she held up one of the cakes. It looked slightly soggy from being exposed to the winter air, but there was something earnest about her pitch that made it hard for Lila to resist. "I'd love to buy one," Lila said with a warm smile as she reached into her purse for cash. She handed over more than enough money for the cake, watching as the girl's face lit up with joy. "Thank you. God bless you," the girl exclaimed before throwing her arms around Lila in an impulsive hug. For a moment, they were just two people sharing kindness in an otherwise busy world. As they separated, Lila knelt down to meet the girl's gaze. "What's your name?" "Mia," came the shy reply, accompanied by a small smile that revealed missing teeth. "Mia," Lila repeated softly. "That's a lovely name." She brushed some snow off Mia's shoulder gently before asking, "Are you here alone?" Mia hesitated for a moment before nodding slightly. "My brother is around," she said quietly. Just then, a tall figure emerged from behind one of the stalls, a boy in his late teens with an anxious expression on his face. "Mia," he called out sternly as he approached them. Lila stood up instinctively as he reached them. "Ethan," Mia said softly, relief washing over her features. "What are you doing here? I told you to stay close." Ethan's voice was firm but not unkind as he glanced at Lila with suspicion. "I was just talking to this lady," Mia replied defensively. Lila quickly interjected, sensing Ethan's protective nature. "I'm just buying some cakes from Mia here," she explained with a friendly smile aimed at easing his tension. Ethan studied Lila for a moment before relaxing slightly but still keeping his guard up. "She shouldn't be alone selling these things," he said quietly but firmly. "I understand," Lila replied thoughtfully. "It's brave of her to do this." Mia beamed at Lila's words while Ethan remained cautious. "We have to make money somehow," he said matter-of-factly. Lila felt a pang of sympathy for them both, two siblings trying to navigate life on their own during what should be a joyful season. "How about we get some hot chocolate together?" she suggested impulsively. "It's freezing out here." Ethan exchanged glances with Mia before nodding slowly. "All right," he agreed reluctantly but clearly intrigued by the idea of warmth and comfort away from their stall. As they walked toward a nearby cafe nestled among the market stalls, Lila felt an unexpected connection forming between them, a bond forged in shared experiences and struggles that transcended their different worlds. Little did she know that this encounter would lead to something much deeper than just an afternoon spent together at the market. The unexpected revelation. As the warmth of the cafe enveloped them, Lila took a moment to appreciate the cozy atmosphere. The walls were adorned with festive decorations, and the scent of hot chocolate mingled with freshly baked pastries, creating a welcoming haven from the cold outside. She led Mia and Ethan to a small table near the window, where they could watch the bustling market through the glass. Clara, the cafe owner, approached their table with a friendly smile. "What can I get for you three?" she asked, her voice warm and inviting. "I'll have a hot chocolate, please," Lila said, glancing at Mia and Ethan. "And what about you two?" "I want a hot chocolate too," Mia exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Ethan nodded in agreement, and Clara jotted down their orders before heading to the counter. Once they were alone, Lila turned her attention to Mia. "So, Mia, tell me more about those cakes you sell. They looked delicious." Mia beamed at the compliment. "My aunt bakes them. She makes all kinds of flavors, chocolate, vanilla, and my favorite, carrot cake." Her enthusiasm was infectious as she spoke about her aunt's baking skills. "What about you? Do you like to bake too?" Lila asked, genuinely curious. Mia shook her head. "I help sell them. My aunt says I'm good at talking to customers." She giggled shyly. Lila smiled back at her, admiring the girl's spirit. "You're doing an amazing job. It takes courage to sell things in a busy market like that." Ethan shifted in his seat, his protective demeanor returning as he glanced around the cafe. "Mia's been working hard," he said quietly. "We need the money." Lila noticed the seriousness in his tone. "What do you mean?" she asked gently. Ethan hesitated before answering. "Our family isn't doing well financially. My dad lost his job a few months ago, and my mom is sick. We're just trying to make ends meet." Lila's heart sank at his words. She could see how much pressure was on both of them, two siblings trying to support each other in difficult circumstances. "I'm so sorry to hear that," she said softly. "It must be really tough for you both." "It is," Mia added quietly, her earlier excitement fading slightly as she looked down at her hands. Clara returned with their drinks, placing steaming mugs in front of each of them. "Here you go. Enjoy," she said cheerfully before moving on to another table. Lila took a sip of her hot chocolate and savored its warmth before continuing the conversation. "What do you want to do when things get better?" she asked Mia. Mia's eyes lit up again as she thought about the question. "I want to help my aunt bake more cakes. And maybe open my own bakery one day." Her voice was filled with hope. Ethan smiled at his sister's dream but quickly masked it with seriousness again. "That's if we can ever get out of this situation," he said quietly. Lila felt a surge of determination rise within her. She couldn't just sit back and let these kids struggle without doing something to help them. "You know," she began slowly, choosing her words carefully, "I have some connections in the community that might be able to help your family." Ethan looked skeptical but intrigued. "What do you mean?" "I could talk to some people I know who are involved in charity work," Lila explained. "They might be able to assist with finding jobs or even providing support for your family's needs." Mia's eyes widened with hope again while Ethan remained cautious but curious. "You really think that would work?" "I believe it could," Lila replied earnestly. "But I need your trust first." Ethan exchanged glances with Mia before nodding slowly. "Okay," he said cautiously but with a hint of relief in his voice. "Let's start by getting your aunt involved," Lila suggested excitedly. "Maybe we can organize something together, a baking event or something similar." Mia clapped her hands together in delight while Ethan smiled for the first time since they'd met. Lila felt a sense of purpose filling her heart. This was what Christmas was truly about, helping others and spreading joy. As they continued sipping their hot chocolates and brainstorming ideas for their bakery event, Lila couldn't shake off the feeling that this was just the beginning of something special, a bond forming between them that would lead to greater changes in their lives. After finishing their drinks and sharing laughter over silly baking ideas, Lila glanced at her watch and realized they had spent more time than anticipated at the cafe. The charity event she had planned for later that evening was still on her mind. "Let's go find your aunt." Lila suggested enthusiastically as they stood up from their table. Ethan nodded but looked slightly anxious again as they stepped back into the cold air outside. The market was still bustling with life, families were laughing together while children chased each other around festive displays. As they walked through the crowd toward where Mia had indicated her aunt might be selling cakes nearby, Lila felt a sense of urgency building within her, a desire not just to help but also to ensure that these two children had someone looking out for them amidst their struggles. Suddenly, as they reached a corner stall decorated with colorful lights and festive ornaments, Lila spotted an older woman standing behind it, Mia's aunt. She wore an apron dusted with flour and had a warm smile that radiated kindness as she served customers. "Mia! Ethan," she called out cheerfully when she noticed them approaching. "Mama!" Mia shouted excitedly as she ran into her aunt's arms. Lila watched as the two siblings shared an embrace filled with love and relief. It was clear how much they meant to each other despite their difficult circumstances. "Who is this lovely lady?" Mia's aunt asked after releasing Mia from her hug and turning toward Lila with curiosity sparkling in her eyes. "This is Lila," Mia introduced proudly. "She bought my cake today." Lila smiled warmly at the woman who seemed so full of life despite the challenges surrounding them all. "It's wonderful to meet you. Your cakes are amazing," she complimented sincerely. "Thank you. We work hard on them," Mia's aunt replied graciously before looking back at Mia and Ethan with concern etched on her face. "Are you two all right? You've been gone for quite some time." "We were just having hot chocolate," Ethan reassured her quickly but hesitated before continuing cautiously, "with Lila here." Mia's aunt raised an eyebrow but didn't press further. Instead, she welcomed Lila into their small world without hesitation, a testament to how genuine kindness can bridge gaps between strangers. As they chatted about baking and holiday plans, Lila felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude wash over her. The chance encounter at the market had turned into something meaningful that could change lives forever. A plan in motion. The bustling Christmas market faded into the background as Angelina sat in the back of her limousine, her heart heavy with concern for Sophia. The warmth of the vehicle felt suffocating compared to the chill that had enveloped her moments before. The festive lights and laughter outside were now overshadowed by the memory of the frightened girl and the man who had dragged her away. "Miss Jolie, we really need to get to the event," her assistant urged, glancing nervously at the clock. "You're already late." Angelina's mind was racing. She felt torn between her commitments as a celebrity and her instinct to protect a vulnerable child. "I can't just forget about her," she replied, her voice steady but filled with urgency. "We need to do something." Her bodyguards exchanged worried glances, aware of the risks involved in pursuing a situation that could escalate further. "We could contact local authorities," one of them suggested cautiously. "They might be able to track down the girl and ensure she's safe." Angelina nodded, appreciating their concern but feeling it wasn't enough. "No, I want to take action myself," she insisted. "I need to know that she's okay." With a determined look in her eyes, she pulled out her phone and began searching for local charities or organizations that worked with children in need. As she scrolled through various websites, she found a community center nearby that offered support for at-risk youth. It was a small chance, but it was better than doing nothing. "Take me there," she instructed her driver, her voice leaving no room for argument. The driver hesitated for a moment but then nodded, turning the limousine around and heading toward the community center. As they drove through the streets of London, Angelina's thoughts were consumed by images of Sophia's fearful expression and the harsh grip of the man who had claimed to be her father. When they arrived at the community center, Angelina stepped out of the limousine and was immediately struck by the contrast between this place and the glamorous events she usually attended. The building was modest, adorned with colorful murals that depicted children playing and smiling, a stark reminder of what was at stake. Inside, the atmosphere was warm and welcoming. A few volunteers were setting up for a holiday event, their laughter filling the air with a sense of camaraderie. Angelina approached a woman who appeared to be in charge. "Excuse me," Angelina said, introducing herself with urgency in her voice. "I need your help. I just met a young girl named Sophia at the Christmas market. She was selling cakes, and I'm worried about her safety." The woman's expression shifted from surprise to concern as she listened intently. "Sophia?" "Yes, I know her," she replied quickly. "Her aunt runs a small bakery nearby, but I haven't seen Sophia today." Angelina felt a wave of relief wash over her but quickly masked it with determination. "Her father was just here, he seemed aggressive and threatening toward her," she explained. "I'm afraid he might hurt her." The woman's brow furrowed as she processed this information. "We need to act quickly," she said decisively. "Let me gather some volunteers, we can go back to the market together." As they organized a small team of volunteers, Angelina felt a sense of purpose igniting within her. This was more than just an encounter, it had become a mission to ensure Sophia's safety. Once they arrived back at the market, Angelina scanned the crowd anxiously. The festive atmosphere felt surreal against the backdrop of her worries about Sophia. They split up into groups, searching for any sign of the little girl or her father. Angelina moved through the stalls with purpose, calling out Sophia's name softly as she searched for familiar faces among the throngs of holiday shoppers. Each moment felt like an eternity as she navigated through families enjoying their time together, children laughing, couples sharing hot cocoa, all while wondering if Sophia was safe. Finally, after what felt like hours of searching, one of the volunteers approached Angelina with urgency in their eyes. "We found them," he exclaimed breathlessly. "Where?" Angelina asked, her heart racing. "They're over by that toy stall," he pointed toward a corner where colorful toys were displayed enticingly. Angelina rushed toward the stall, her heart pounding in anticipation and fear. As they drew closer, she spotted Sophia standing next to her father, his demeanor still aggressive as he spoke harshly to her. "Get over here," he barked at Sophia, who stood frozen in place with wide eyes filled with fear. Without hesitation, Angelina stepped forward again, placing herself between Sophia and the man once more. "You need to let her go," she said firmly. The man turned his gaze toward Angelina, surprise flickering across his face before it morphed into anger once more. "What do you want?" he sneered. "I want you to stop scaring this child," Angelina replied calmly but assertively. "She deserves to feel safe, especially during Christmas." Sophia looked up at Angelina with tears brimming in her eyes as if hoping for reassurance from someone who cared about her well-being. "Who do you think you are?" The man spat back defensively but seemed taken aback by Angelina's unwavering stance. "I'm someone who cares about children," Angelina said firmly. "And I won't let you treat your daughter this way." At that moment, several volunteers from the community center arrived behind Angelina, an unexpected show of support that caught both Sophia and her father off guard. "What is going on here?" one volunteer demanded as they stepped forward confidently. The man glanced around at the growing crowd gathering around them, people whispering amongst themselves as they watched this confrontation unfold, and his bravado began to wane slightly under their scrutiny. "This is none of your business," he shouted again but lacked conviction now. "It is our business when it involves a child's safety," another volunteer stated firmly while stepping closer to Sophia protectively. Angelina kept her gaze locked on Sophia's father while addressing him directly again. "You need help, this isn't how you should treat your daughter." The tension hung thick in the air as people continued watching closely, the festive spirit of Christmas now replaced by an urgent need for justice on behalf of an innocent child caught in turmoil. Sophia glanced up at Angelina again, her eyes filled with hope mingled with uncertainty, and it struck Angelina how important it was not only for this moment but also for all moments moving forward. Children like Sophia needed advocates willing to stand up against injustice no matter where it originated from or how intimidating it might seem. As silence fell upon them all, the weight of responsibility pressing down heavily on everyone present, Angelina took a deep breath before speaking again. let's talk about what we can do next. It was time for action, not just words, to ensure that no child would ever have to feel afraid during what should be one of life's most joyful seasons. The community comes together. Angelina stood at the edge of the market, her heart racing as she watched Sophia disappear into the crowd with the man who had claimed to be her father. The festive atmosphere around her felt like a distant memory, overshadowed by the urgency of the situation. She could feel her bodyguard's hands on her arms, gently urging her to leave, but her mind was racing with thoughts of what she could do next. "Miss Jolie, we need to go," one of her bodyguards insisted, his voice low and firm. "This is becoming a public spectacle, and it's not safe." But Angelina shook her head, determination etched on her face. "No, I can't just walk away. That girl needs help." She glanced back toward the market, where people were starting to murmur and point at her. The whispers were growing louder, and she knew she had to act quickly. "Let's find out where that man took Sophia," she said decisively. "We can't just leave her there." Her assistant nodded reluctantly, understanding the gravity of the situation. "All right, but we need to be careful," she replied. "Let's see if we can get some information from the vendors or anyone who might have seen them." Angelina led the way back into the market, her eyes scanning for familiar faces among the crowd. She approached a nearby vendor selling handmade ornaments and asked if they had seen a girl in a Santa outfit with a man who seemed aggressive. The vendor's face fell as he nodded slowly. "Yes, I saw them go toward the alley behind the toy stall," he said quietly. "That man didn't look right, he was yelling at her." Angelina felt a surge of anger and fear at his words but quickly pushed those emotions aside. "Thank you," she said earnestly before turning to her bodyguards and assistant. "We need to check that alley." As they made their way through the market, Angelina's mind raced with thoughts of how to approach the situation. She couldn't just confront the man again, it could escalate into something dangerous. Instead, she needed a plan that would ensure Sophia's safety without putting herself or anyone else at risk. Once they reached the alley, Angelina paused at the entrance, peering into the dimly lit space. It was narrow and cluttered with discarded boxes and old decorations from previous events. The sound of muffled voices echoed off the walls, sending a chill down her spine. "Stay here," she instructed her bodyguards in a whisper. "I'll go in first and see what I can find." Her assistant opened her mouth to protest but then closed it again, recognizing that Angelina was resolute. With a deep breath, Angelina stepped into the alley, moving quietly toward where she heard the voices. As she approached, she could make out snippets of conversation, Sophia's frightened voice pleading for something, followed by the harsh tone of the man who had taken her. Angelina's heart raced as she pressed herself against the wall to listen more closely. "Stop crying. You're embarrassing me," he shouted angrily. "I'm sorry. I just wanted to sell cakes," Sophia whimpered. Angelina felt a surge of protectiveness wash over her as she listened to Sophia's words. This wasn't just about a simple misunderstanding, this was about a child in distress who needed someone to stand up for her. Taking a deep breath to steady herself, Angelina stepped forward into view. "Stop right there," she commanded firmly. The man turned abruptly at her voice, his expression shifting from surprise to anger as he recognized who stood before him. "What do you want?" he spat out venomously. "I want you to let that girl go," Angelina replied steadily, refusing to back down despite his intimidating presence. Sophia looked up at Angelina with wide eyes filled with fear and hope, a mixture that tore at Angelina's heartstrings. She could see how small and vulnerable Sophia appeared next to this man who loomed over her like a dark cloud. "You think you can just waltz in here and tell me what to do?" he sneered, taking a step closer to Sophia as if trying to assert his control over her. Angelina held her ground, refusing to let him intimidate her any further. "You're hurting her," she said firmly. "You need help, this isn't how you treat your daughter." The man scoffed at her words but hesitated for a moment as if considering his next move. In that brief moment of uncertainty, Angelina seized the opportunity. "Call for help," she shouted back toward where she had left her bodyguards and assistant waiting outside the alley. "Someone needs to call the police." The man's eyes widened in panic as he realized that his grip on control was slipping away. He turned back toward Sophia, trying to drag her away from Angelina once more. "No! Stop!" Angelina shouted again as she moved closer to them both. A commotion erupted outside as people began gathering near the alley entrance after hearing Angelina's call for help. Her bodyguards rushed in alongside several volunteers from the community center who had been alerted by bystanders about what was happening. "Get away from her," one of them shouted as they approached with authority. The man looked around frantically at all the eyes now focused on him, his bravado faltering under scrutiny, and in that moment of hesitation, Sophia broke free from his grasp and ran toward Angelina. Angelina knelt down as Sophia rushed into her arms, holding onto her tightly as if afraid to let go again. "It's okay, you're safe now," Angelina whispered soothingly while glancing back at the man who was now surrounded by security personnel. Realizing he was outnumbered and trapped in this situation, he began backing away slowly until he turned and fled down another alleyway, disappearing into the night like a ghost, leaving behind only tension and fear. As relief washed over everyone present, Sophia clung tightly to Angelina while tears streamed down her cheeks, her small frame trembling from both fear and exhaustion after what felt like an eternity spent in distress. "Thank you," Sophia whispered through sobs as Angelina held her close protectively. It was clear how much this moment meant for both of them, a connection forged through adversity that would linger long after this night ended. "We're going to get you home safe," Angelina promised softly while brushing hair away from Sophia's tear-streaked face, a gesture filled with warmth and compassion that spoke volumes about their newfound bond amidst chaos. With authorities now involved and volunteers rallying around them for support, Angelina felt hope blooming once more within this community, a reminder that even during dark times there existed light found through compassion shared among strangers willing to stand together against injustice. A new beginning. Angelina stood at the edge of the market, her heart heavy with the weight of the moment. The festive lights twinkled around her, but all she could think about was Sophia and the man who had taken her away. The warmth of the holiday spirit seemed to fade as she watched the crowd disperse, each person oblivious to the turmoil that had just unfolded. "Miss Jolie, we really need to go," her assistant urged again, glancing nervously at the gathering crowd. "The event is starting soon, and we can't afford any more delays." With a deep breath, Angelina turned away from the market, her mind racing. She felt torn between her responsibilities as a public figure and her instinct to protect a child in distress. The image of Sophia's frightened eyes haunted her thoughts as they walked back toward the limousine. As they approached the vehicle, Angelina's bodyguards maintained their vigilance, scanning the area for any signs of danger. The atmosphere was tense, and whispers about the confrontation still lingered among onlookers. Angelina climbed into the back seat, but her mind was elsewhere. "Can we contact someone?" she asked her assistant urgently. "We need to find out if Sophia is okay." Her assistant hesitated before responding. "We can reach out to local authorities or child welfare services," she suggested cautiously. "They might be able to help locate her." Angelina nodded, grateful for the suggestion. "Do it," she instructed firmly. "I want updates as soon as possible." As they drove away from the market, Angelina stared out of the window, watching the festive lights blur into a kaleidoscope of colors. She felt a sense of helplessness wash over her. How could she have let this happen? She had always advocated for children's rights and protection, yet here was a child in need right in front of her, and she felt powerless to intervene. The car pulled up to Alexandra Palace, where the gala was being held. As they arrived, the sounds of laughter and music filled the air, a stark contrast to the turmoil in Angelina's heart. She stepped out of the limousine, forcing herself to put on a brave face for the cameras and guests waiting for her arrival. "Miss Jolie, reporters shouted as she walked down the red carpet, their flashes illuminating her path like stars in a night sky. She smiled and waved but felt detached from it all. Her thoughts were still with Sophia. Inside the grand hall, guests mingled and enjoyed drinks while waiting for the program to begin. Angelina greeted fellow actors and activists but found it difficult to engage in small talk. Her mind kept drifting back to that little girl. What would happen to her now? After delivering her speech honoring those who used their platforms for good, Angelina took a moment away from the festivities. She stepped outside onto a balcony overlooking London's skyline, hoping for some clarity amidst the chaos in her mind. As she leaned against the railing, staring into the distance, she felt a sudden surge of determination rise within her. She couldn't let this go. She had to do something for Sophia and other children like her who faced similar struggles. With renewed resolve, Angelina pulled out her phone and began drafting a plan, a way to create change that would extend beyond this one encounter. She envisioned an initiative that would not only provide immediate assistance but also empower children like Sophia through education and support. Back inside, she gathered a few trusted friends who shared her passion for humanitarian work. "I want to start a campaign focused on protecting vulnerable children," she explained passionately. "We can raise awareness about their struggles and provide resources for families in need." Her friends listened intently as she outlined her vision: fundraising events, partnerships with local organizations, and outreach programs that would connect children with mentors who could guide them toward brighter futures. "I know it won't be easy," Angelina admitted, "but I believe we can make a difference if we work together." As they brainstormed ideas late into the night, Angelina felt a sense of purpose returning, a feeling that had been overshadowed by doubt earlier that evening. This was more than just an event, it was an opportunity to effect real change in people's lives. Days passed after the gala event as Angelina worked tirelessly on her initiative. She reached out to various organizations dedicated to child welfare and connected with local leaders who shared her vision. The response was overwhelmingly positive. People were eager to join forces and support this important cause. Meanwhile, news outlets began covering Sophia's story after Angelina's encounter went viral online. People were touched by their interaction and curious about what happened next for both Angelina and Sophia. One afternoon while finalizing plans at home, Angelina received an unexpected phone call from local authorities regarding Sophia's situation. They informed her that they had located Sophia's aunt, the woman who had been baking cakes with Sophia, and that they were working together to ensure their safety moving forward. Relief washed over Angelina as she listened intently to every detail shared during that call. It seemed that Sophia's aunt had been desperately searching for help after realizing how unsafe things had become since their father lost his job, an unfortunate reality many families faced during tough economic times. "I want to meet them," Angelina said firmly once they finished discussing logistics with authorities. "I need to know how I can help them directly." A few days later, under careful supervision from social workers assigned to assist families in need, Angelina finally met Sophia and her aunt at a community center where resources were available for families facing hardships. When Sophia saw Angelina walk through those doors, her eyes lit up with recognition and joy immediately. "Miss Jolie," she exclaimed before running towards her with open arms. Angelina knelt down again as they embraced tightly. The warmth radiating between them spoke volumes about how far they had come since that fateful day at the market. "I'm so glad you're safe," Angelina whispered softly into Sophia's ear before releasing their hug gently. Sophia grinned widely while holding onto one of those homemade cakes once more, a symbol not just of their connection but also resilience against adversity. Over time, Angelina continued working closely alongside Sophia's family, providing them with resources including educational opportunities through scholarships aimed at helping children pursue their dreams despite difficult circumstances surrounding them. Together, they created workshops focused on baking skills where families could learn together while sharing stories about overcoming challenges faced along this journey. As Christmas approached once again, the community came together celebrating not just newfound friendships but also hope blossoming amidst hardship. This new beginning marked not only significant changes within Sophia's life but also inspired countless others within their neighborhood, reminding everyone involved how powerful acts of kindness could truly be, even amidst chaos. Through this journey, Angelina discovered something profound. Sometimes, it takes just one small act of compassion to ignite change and inspire others towards brighter futures filled with possibility.